Fiona, are you in weird zoomy,
Yes,
let's
of
crawl
course
under
she
the
is.
sofa mode? She does that on the back of the sofa.
Okay,
Sometimes
I'm
she does
alive.
it, like, I don't know if she's trying to rub her back or what, but she'll literally lay on her back and like grab the bottom of the sofa on the corner side and like run. Like it looks really weird. I have like video of it or a picture of it one time that I took because I was like, John, you have to see this cat on the back of the sofa being a strange cat.
So welcome back to Wildemount.
Huzzah!
For however long.
Yeah, for a little bit.
For a little bit. We can get on the journey. So, Leah, you've never ventured beyond the forest around home. You have seen the borders of the best description would probably be a bayou of sorts. Once you go further north, past the lands that your tribe and your family oversee, it very quickly shifts into a somewhat fauna light region of lots more water and very flooded. There's a lot of rivers and stuff that run through it, kind of crisscrossing it and then kind of dumping out into the large bay north. So you know roughly the general area that you would need to go to. It's a couple of days to get just to those wetlands, and then a couple of days if you were to move with very little difficulty. It would only take a couple of days to get through, but because it is swampy, marshy ground, it would probably take a lot of extra time to wade through. But if I'm not mistaken, you all have a ranger with you now who allows the party to travel through difficult terrain without any difficulty.
That is a thing. Yeah.
I was
I can do that.
In their favorite terrain.
Yeah.
No, it's everywhere.
Okay.
It's revised.
Unearthed Arcana Ranger is way better.
Oh, they changed it with
Revised Ranger, yeah.
Big upgrade.
I actually need to pull up the revised Ranger stuff.
Yeah. So
because I don't have it open right now.
I mean, Velis would probably be more at home guiding you through the tunnels of the Underdark, which someday you may get to, but with his help, you'll actually be able to make very good progress through the forest, avoiding any mundane dangers. Before you leave home, however,
and also in a pinch, I have freedom of movement.
Okay.
I can.
So first of all, are we hitting the long rest button on our sheets after our sparring?
Yeah.
I wasn't sure. I didn't want to hit it until I was definitely sure that we had done that.
Yeah, we're reaching Groundhog Day.
I was just confirming.
Groundhog Day levels of like the scene opening up in the morning with everyone waking up. If there were background music, it would like kick off at the same time every day. There's like bird song, yellow golden light filtering in through the windows. And, yeah, you're almost reluctant to leave these beds, knowing that a trek through a hostile forest to.
Aiden is up and ready.
Let's go.
Nekatana's in the morning, just going through her routine every morning.
Yeah. Is there anything that anyone would like to do before you leave town?
We already.
Alternatively, if you think of something, we can like flash back to a conversation that you had with someone in the future if you want.
I can't think of anything.
Okay.
Good.
All right.
Did you ever talk to me?
Talk to the Sarenrae priestess.
That can wait until we get back. I had been thinking of I'm gonna. Yeah, I know. I say I.
But they're a cleric.
No.
Drag your dead
No.
back so I can talk to you.
Nixing that idea.
The body can ask the question.
You were going to cast divination.
I was gonna cast divination.
Before you left. So knowing that you're probably going to be preparing to leave on the next day, you could probably cast it in the evening.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, castings of divination.
Oh, divination.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, and it is a ritual, actually, so
Yeah.
I don't even have to use the spell slot.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can just cast it during the evening.
Yeah.
So, do you know your question?
I did, and then I didn't write it down.
Fuck!
It's in the Discord
It
somewhere.
might be.
Yeah,
Let me. I
Discord.
think I was gonna ask if there was.
Did you
Like,
message it to me directly,
I don't know if I
maybe?
did. I don't think I did message.
That
it.
probably would have been a smart thing to do because then I
Probably
would have
would
been
have been.
about it. Let's see.
I did not, but I think
Oh, yeah.
it was probably. I think it was a like, are there any other dangers we need to that we aren't aware of? I think something along those lines. Are there any other dangers in the forest that we aren't aware of, or that we should be aware of? I think.
Okay.
Unless someone has a better idea for a question to trying to do.
No,
a little
you're good. We've seen me trying to figure out divination questions. You're good.
Yeah.
Didn't realize how difficult that spell was.
Yeah. No, yeah, divination unfortunately asks you to be specific.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but it's also requires the DM to be accurate, which
Yeah.
Well,
specificity is
yeah.
kind of important.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
I feel like Tay
Yeah,
doesn't
you
cast
get a
it
more
lot,
specific
No.
answer, but
Tay does not.
because our party doesn't plan.
Yep.
We're trying so hard to
Yeah, we're
plan.
really
We're
trying.
Yeah. I mean, you spend days gathering
Rich, plan
materials.
is basically just assume Ryland's gonna run in head first and
Yes.
Navarre's gonna try and blow everything.
Like, we were in a tournament,
Improvise
and
from
it's
there.
like in between rounds. It's like, okay, we need to try and plan. What do we do?
After
Heal
we
up and run back
after
in.
we nearly get eliminated in the first round.
We're like, we need to plan, guys, because literally the DM is controlling the entire other team, so of course they're coordinated. Like, whereas, what do? Run in like chickens with our heads cut off. And
Yeah, I mean,
and every other round it was.
So any other
nope.
unknown dangers is a good. I can't.
I
think
like
of
it.
Yeah, I mean, without more information, that's the
Right.
best. We can,
I mean, I
unless-
just feel like that wording is going to get us a yes. answer.
yeah,
like-
yeah. So
What other dangers, if any, sort of thing would be?
Yeah, I was like, I
And-
feel like I would
Yeah.
word
That's
it
not a
more.
very
Specific.
question, though.
yeah.
Like, what other dangers are there?
Yeah.
That's a very, very
Very
open
broad.
question.
yeah. Okay.
What
Yeah.
other dangers should we be aware of or prepared for?
When
Those
going
are- those
into
are-
this,
Yeah, they-
when going into the lush gut forest, trying to get to Taliana.
It's not the same as the other spell where you get like a general like
Yeah.
it could
Yeah.
be good, it could be bad. If you have a specific question, you can get an answer, but the more vague your question, more cryptic and vague your answer.
What about asking? All right, what are we planning on giving to or leaving for this dragon?
So we have a list.
I think we should start.
I mean, I think we have.
I
a
like
good
starting
idea.
with the pipe because it's
Starting with the
explicitly
pipe.
fancy.
What about asking? Would you be able to ask your goddess if our planned offering will be?
I feel like you can use that one.
Yeah, I can use
Yeah.
augury for that. I can use a first level spell slot for that.
Well, then
one.
do that. But
That's a
I mean,
yes or no.
the first
Is this
issue.
a good or bad idea?
Yeah.
I mean, the first issue we're running into is the dragon's territory.
We also have a lot of plans for that, so I'd rather know if there's things we don't know about.
That's also the thing we have the most information about.
How
Yes.
about once you get to Taliana, what do you need to do specifically to? weed
That
out
might be
the
too far
corruption?
out.
Too far
That
out.
might be
That's
too
probably
far
too
out.
far out. It's not like Elias can't cast it again.
That's
Yeah,
true.
later
it's
into the
ritual. It's
forest.
a ritual, right?
It is.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a ritual spell.
It just
And
costs money.
It doesn't cost
It doesn't
25
cost.
gold pieces.
Yeah, it
worth
costs 25 gold, which isn't.
So we have plenty. Yeah, that's not a problem. But
Yeah, incense and a sacrificial offering.
Right.
So, the sacrificial offering will likely also influence the reply that you get. And I would say you don't imagine that you're even going to get to Telyana within a week.
yeah, that was my point. Is I think we're too far away from Telyana to ask about
Oh,
that.
I think that original question is good.
It's just
What
but
changes?
Brendan was pointing out that it's very general and it
not
asked for more specific. Yeah.
The spell literally says you ask a single question concerning a specific goal, event, or activity.
Yeah, that's way broad.
Yeah.
That is broad.
I feel like
I'll hold off then.
Yeah, I was like,
And wait.
I feel like
until
out of character. I feel like it's anytime Tay has used it, it's been like, if we go ahead with this plan to walk through this way with it, like, are we going to die? Or like,
then
or should we?
Since it seems like it's probably going to be longer than 7 days till we get to the actual
Did it go between the cushions?
city. I'll wait then. Because I think
bunch
we,
of other ones
unless
that are like older.
What was there was like a
in her thing that I said over there.
What was that? The third trial that the
Lost self. Yeah, that
The
was
Lost Self.
They got stuck for like a year.
Yeah,
a year and a day.
Do we know how long? Would it be too far out to ask about that?
Um,
I mean, that may be once we get to that point, be like, all right, I'm gonna.
I mean, I
sit down and.
I feel like if
Be
getting
like-
through the dragon's territory is the first thing, it's not going to be a single day. I don't think.
Yeah.
Just waltzing through. It's not
Alright.
like it's just his.
So yeah, I'll hold off on this then until we get to the.
as long as you're not casting this spell more than once a day,
Yeah.
it's fine. You can cast it like 2 or 3
That's
times
fine.
during the course of a week, and it would be fine. You're probably not going to get to the Feywild influenced area of the forest within 7 days.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very likely.
What?
It's a big forest.
I think what Leah said is actually valid, though, then, is if you can cast it every day, you can ask which of the offerings that we have considered for the dragon she would most like.
That would be
Okay,
a
then
very.
I'll go ahead and
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah, because if it's only 25, if it's only 25
If we don't need to
gold,
leave
25 gold.
everything the
I
first
assume,
time.
I assume we can say we picked up more incense if needed. Like we can decide now if we want to pick up extra incense because
Yeah.
Mom would probably have that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Also,
Let's do that.
Leah, because I never picked up a smaller thrownable weapon. Leah's definitely taking her longbow with her.
Sure.
Because she's tall and can, strap
alright,
that
so
on
yeah,
her.
I'll go ahead and ask. Which of the offerings that we have prepared would the dragon like best? If that's specific
Or
enough.
the specific name of the dragon.
Yeah.
The green dragon that
we're going to deal with.
Vincenthralex. Vincenthralex.
What is the sacrificial offering that's appropriate to your religion that you're using?
The souls of the dead.
The souls of
Oh no.
I know I talked about that'd be a lot of raven feathers. Or I think I'd mentioned one time about making having little mask images out of just clay or something.
Right.
That I could
That's
take.
the value when you're crafting the symbolic one.
Hmm?
Right. Okay.
So we go with that. Just
So this is the. So are you casting this in the evening or in the morning of your departure? Just so I have a little bit of extra context.
I'll do it the evening before, just so we have a little more time to prepare.
Okay. So You cast and finish your ritual, waiting for a sign, an omen, a whisper, or something.
A hand on my shoulder.
The cryptic asshole, you know.
Let's see, how does the Raven Queen respond to this question?
Yeah, I don't.
Let's see. Are you in a so I have some context. Did you cast this in one of the bedrooms of the cottage, or what is the environment that you're in? What are the tools that I have to work with, narratively speaking, to get this?
Probably in one of the bedrooms.
Okay. Sure. Okay.
Just, get a little privacy, not doing this in the middle of
in the middle of home.
In the middle of home.
Okay. So as you finish the ritual, the candles that you have lit all sort of flicker and burn low, so much that the room is almost immersed in darkness, except for the bright light of a shaft of moonlight shining through the window, and you can see it shining in through the window, and almost like in a sunbeam, you can kind of see like these motes of dust, except it's in this bright moonbeam, and you kind of follow it along and notice that it seems to be focusing on a small hole that is along the side of the wall, kind of tucked behind a sort of a dresser or something that's in the bedroom that you're in, where you conducted this ritual. And you can see that the hole is maybe large enough for a small rodent, and you can see that there's something glinting or reflecting off the moonlight.
Can I reach into the hole?
You reach into the hole, and you can feel
And
around.
your hand falls off.
And you immediately feel that there's stuff inside of the hole, round, soft, hard, somewhat pokey, like it's a small pile of things that you see in there, or that you can feel in there.
Okay, I'll just start pulling it out. I guess.
Pulling random shit out of the hole.
Just start pulling.
So you start pulling stuff out, and you pull out like a few what look to be maybe like wooden buttons or charms or something like that may have been part of a necklace or something like that are very dusty and kind of dirty.
Silently apologize to whatever small rodent I'm currently robbing.
Okay, put robbing a small rodent into the white card pile.
But you sort of just reach in and you pull out like just all this random detritus that this rodent has accumulated over time, and you like it seems as if there's just more and more and more every time you put your hand in, until you have like this small pile of treasure in front of you, and it's just a motley assortment of things that you would find lying around the cottage, most likely. Nothing of particular significant monetary value, it seems, but just lots of like little random things. But there's just like, it is almost as if a small dragon lived in that cave and you just plundered its hoard.
So all the things. It's literally all the things we have. We're fine.
Yeah, so it
And
doesn't
crickets.
like specific, like something or is it just a?
Going through it, there doesn't seem to be any parallels with anything that you specifically had in mind. I mean, again, it's like this is like little stuff that, like a button. There's like a small little teaspoon in there as well. just random stuff from around the house that you like. If you were to like move and just pull out all the stuff that fell underneath your couch over time, and it's just like, where did this all come from? That's what you pulled out. Just sans like Legos and Cheetos.
Okay.
Well.
Well. Or anything else?
I feel like we've been overthinking this part.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe we can-
You must overthink when it comes to an ancient chromatic dragon.
So I guess
Fair.
we're good with just random shiny,
Level 8.
Random shit.
as long as it's nice. Okay. Is there any look around like anything else? Any birds want to voice their opinions?
I'm assuming Elias is asking this out loud.
Yeah, right.
Go ahead and make an insight check.
Okay.
You're inciting the wall.
No, that's not great. What is that? A 7?
Coo, coo, give it the flute, coo!
Okay, my inside's 8, so that's 13.
Okay.
Wait, no, 15. Hang on.
7 plus 8 would be
7
15.
plus 8.
15.
15.
Okay. So there doesn't seem to be any direct connection between any of the small items that you pulled out and all of the things that you've been discussing. But what does strike you is that there just seems to be a significant amount of the thing. Like, you reached in and, like, how much stuff did this rat, squirrel away? And it seemed to be a significant amount.
Okay. So it probably
Give it
So
lots
all
of
of it.
Lots of-
Shit,
Alright.
everything we have the first time around.
Yeah. Alright, well.
I am listing everything we discussed in the chat.
Fair.
So yeah, the elf skin bag of holding.
The elf skin bag of holding.
Yeah.
The bad
We put
smut.
it all in the elf skin bag of holding. Yeah, the
Like a
pipe,
bag of
the bad
goodies.
smut. We have the
The flute. The pipe.
pipe.
The. Oh, we had some like. Yeah, we had, and then we had some.
I'll share this with the group that like, okay, I think we're on the right track. We just need a lot of stuff. We just might need more.
We certainly did gather such amounts at this point. Don't that mean that we must give it all at once and perhaps have trouble returning? Or perhaps
Well, I mean. I can
making some
carve
sort of
lots
pact with this dragon ahead of time that would allow us back and forth at the beginning.
I mean, what? If we don't come back right away, I guess I could sit and carve more flutes, but that's a lot of carving.
We just sit in the dark, creepy forest for days and days and days while Weirya carves.
I'm not recommending that as an option.
So then
Now-
perhaps our goal should be to strike an accord with this dragon that everything that we have is a there and back situation.
It wouldn't
Well,
hurt.
Assuming we can get a chance to even really talk to the dragon, they said they just leave offerings.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
I mean,
Yeah, do we know where to leave this offering?
Does Leah know? I feel like
You have directions on how to get there.
yeah, I was like, I feel like she would have at least made sure that she asked like the caretaker that before leaving. So I mean, I imagine in the past we have left offerings to more or less maintain our peaceful relationship with the dragon. However, no one in living history memory that I know of has ever ventured into their territory, left the
home that far, so as far as how much they've left in the past, I'm not.
Oh, that's
would imagine that
fair.
passing the whole way through their territory would probably require a bit more.
We'll probably pick up stuff.
Yeah, I had that.
I would
thought of it.
assume
We may find
again,
something while we're there.
I can't imagine they've gotten much information recently on anything dealing with Teliana or anything like that, so I would imagine that yes.
Yeah,
Any
situations like
information from
that,
that.
stuff gets left behind.
Fair. So we offer everything we have now.
Not that I'm advocating grave robbing, but
Was it really a grave, though?
I mean,
It's probably partially
they're
a
not
grave, but
all
some of them
dead.
just left.
and
Right.
some of them are still there.
There's so many
Right.
things I can do in person.
Yeah.
Yeah, does it count as a grave if they're still wandering around, being all
You're off camera.
undead?
no, they didn't get the full experience of me choking on my drink.
My camera is not wide enough.
Well,
We
we can.
I'm not advocating grave robbery.
Well-
I just give the look across the
I happened to take a drink.
So
I mean, you do know that there are a number of cairns kind of in and amongst the forest. Where
Oh yeah, I have a note on here that says trinkets from elven graves.
Yeah, I was like, there's a number of cairns?
IRN.
What is that?
Like a
would
burial mound.
we
Oh.
know, or would where I suppose, whether per Cortanus' suggestion of negotiating their ability to return, how inclined ancient green dragons are in keeping pacts?
So, what you know from stories and lore is green dragons are the most intelligent and cunning of the chromatic dragon.
Right.
Any negotiation or agreement or anything that you could possibly make with them is never going to benefit you as much as it does them.
Yeah, that was what I was wondering, because it seems like
Regardless of how good of a deal you
Let's
think you're
not
getting,
worry about.
they'll always be getting the better end of it because they just
fair enough.
they are cunning.
Let's not worry about that part yet.
Well, just
To be fair, they are getting the better part of the deal and having to do nothing and getting many things.
Well, we should just keep in mind that we may need significant offerings on the return, perhaps.
At this point, I say we worry about that when we get there.
Yep, just
Suppose
if
it
we
doth
find
mean nothing
anything,
if we do not
keep
return.
a hold of it.
Yeah.
Pretty much. And let's maybe not give away the scrolls yet.
Yeah, so let's
Let's
not
the scrolls.
give away everything. Let's,
Yeah.
hold on to like the scrolls or the spell book or something.
The scrolls are more likely to be immediately useful to, well, not immediately, but are more likely to be useful.
Yeah, so I say
And
hold on to the
individually
scrolls and give
sellable?
everything else.
Yeah. Okay.
Do we want to write up the information, or do we want to just tell the
Let's
dragon if we meet it?
Write up the information. I personally would rather not actually meet
I mean,
dragon.
if you want my opinion, I think our chances of meeting this dragon are slim.
Good.
He
That's
is
when you're not
proverbial
traveling
Santa
through her
Claus.
territory, though.
Nobody's ever seen him.
Who's Santa
Hell,
Claus?
what kind of Santa Claus do you have?
People try to stay up and see him.
Weirdo Santa
They never
Claus.
do.
Yeah.
It's backwards. We give him the presents.
Well, so
What is
That-
this Santa
so do
Claus
we-
they're
The
speaking
point
of?
being,
do we want to
those who've tried to
Write
see
up-
the dragon never have succeeded.
some tales? Though we're cutting it close. We should have done that.
Yeah.
You
Well,
have a couple of days before you even get to.
Yeah,
so
I
we
would
just have
assume
to
at
do it-
night, if
Right, we
we
just
are
have-
diligently writing, we can.
Well then,
Make sure we just bring enough paper or whatever we are.
do you think that the dragon would enjoy stories of puppet fish people?
I feel anything you can
Why
tell
not?
them of news going on outside of home is sure to be information. I am afraid information is not one of the things that I have a lot of. I really know a whole lot outside of home.
We could tell them. We could give the dragon tales of puppet fish people and evil monks.
I say Warian gets writing.
Yeah, you can do that.
Very specific
What?
component. Clairvoyance.
Mm-hmm.
Or
Yeah,
perhaps
well,
more than one of us gets writing, so I'm not sitting here writing every night for hours.
I shall certainly help thee, Maria. You. Help you.
Much appreciated.
I mean, do you need the? I don't. Well, I mean, I don't know how Brendan plays it. I was gonna say. I mean, our other campaign, like with Tay, if it has a monetary, if it's consumed.
Yeah.
Normally, it's if it's consumed, you need it, but that's
I
not
don't-
consumed.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
your focus
My focus would probably.
replaces it because
if it has a written
it's-
monetary value, typically you need to.
Well, it has,
but it's not consumed.
it's not
by
consumed
the spell.
by the spell.
Right,
Yeah.
but you still need to acquire the one
Yes.
item of it.
You would need, so for example, the spell clairvoyance. If you want to cast that,
That's what
you
I'm.
need
That's what I'm looking at.
a focus that's worth that much. So
And then you could use it over and
My
over.
holy symbol is probably not worth that much. Let's be real.
again.
in theory, like for example, if Wuria were to use her wand as a focus, that thing is could be considered a jeweled horn worth at least 100 gold.
Yeah. That
could
thing is hella
theoretically
valuable.
qualify as focus for it. You don't have to be attuned to the focus, so Wuria could literally just hand you that.
That's
and you
true.
can
I could just borrow.
That's fair.
Hey, Elias!
Pass around that unicorn horn.
You're like, hey, Wiria. I think the spell is gonna.
She'd loan it to you.
Anyways,
But if you want to be able to cast the seeing side of it, you would need some sort of thing that it doesn't literally have to be a glass eye, but some sort of
Something.
glass orb-like construction, even if it's abstracted, that would just magic is very representational.
Well,
Good
let's
to know.
get some sleep and then
Okay.
get a fresh start in the morning, I suppose.
Okay. Having made your preparations, you've gathered supplies, you've gathered offerings, you've gathered weapons and arms, and what magical trinkets you could find for the trek north.
And Leah has started doing whatever it is she needs to do, or has done whatever she needs to do to get her weapon to start being enchanted or whatever.
Right.
I forget if it's something. Is that something she has to do daily, or is it she does it once and then it just takes a while to soak in?
I would say daily
Okay.
would be good for a narratively significant amount of time. As you leave, or when you go to leave, you are invited to sort of for one last time, mostly for Leah, since you are sort of departing home. There is an opportunity for you to say goodbye to friends and family, and a significant number of people turn out. And to a certain extent, there's almost a ritual aspect to this send-off of often close friends and family members each gather together, and they give you tokens. Your father gives you a small splinter from his staff. Your friend,
I'm forgetting her name too.
Guardian.
Yeah.
I have a spreadsheet for all these things. I can be on top of it.
I forget if I wrote it in my journal.
Okay. Okay. Yes, Trislin.
Okay, it was Tristan. I couldn't remember.
She gives you a bear claw, and you can see it is based on the bandage on her finger. It may actually have been hers.
Aww.
And Naven,
That's sweet.
yeah, he packs together sort of it's sort of a wrapped up in cloth bit of soil and a seed, just from his garden. And he sort of looks at you and asks you to bring a bit of home with you to keep you safe. And sort of among the rest of the acquaintances and friends, a lot of people give you kind words, and eventually you kind of come to the caretaker, and she's just sort of got this pleasant smile on her face, very much of the it's like you can see there's sort of a wistful, sad grandma look in her eye, as you're leaving, but she gives you a big hug. She doesn't say anything, but she just sort of nods at you, and looks over at the rest of the party. You bring my Via home.
Absolutely.
We will absolutely do our best.
We have no intention of losing anyone.
Kind of pats you on your cheek. Yeah. And then you do us proud.
I will.
And there's people waving. You can see a couple of people. They are upset. This is supposed to be sort of an honoring of a warrior, sort of a recognition of a great journey that is about to be undertaken. But you get the impression that for a lot of people, they don't expect to ever see you again.
Aww.
Optimistic.
It's not like we're wandering into a cursed forest or anything.
Leah just looks at them and just confidently says, I'll be back. These are strong folk.
I am very good at keeping people alive.
He actually really is.
Actually,
Yeah.
am.
Yeah.
That kind of breaks a little bit of the tension, and there's some chuckles and stuff. But they it's very much like that friend's mom that's like, okay, you can't leave without, and they're like handing you all sort of wrapped bundles of food and provisions and stuff, sort of piling things up, which you can all very readily put into a bag of holding, so you don't need to worry about dragging a donkey or something through the wilderness. So you
Are
have
we
a
putting a donkey in a bag of holding?
Oh,
die.
ridiculous.
Yes. They send you off, and it is a peaceful and very quiet trek for the rest of the day. There isn't. Occasionally, you do encounter some outriders.
My phone started making noise that I didn't expect. Sorry.
My phone started making noise at the exact same time.
You do encounter a few outriders, and they sort of acknowledge you and salute you as you pass. the first evening is quiet. It is a nice nice evening. There doesn't seem to be much sense of danger. The forest itself is still very kind of peaceful and welcoming. But after about another day and a half or so of travel, you eventually reach an area of the forest that is significantly more, say, damp. You eventually get to a point where there are significant stretches of the forest that have just flooded waters, and it's almost like imagine what you would in like a bayou type environment. Thankfully, however, Velis is able to actually guide you around a significant number of simpler dangerous plants. Of note, there's
I have good eyes. It's dark.
Yeah. It's as you've gone maybe a half a day into the sort of swampy side of this forest, it has gotten significantly sort of gloomier. It does seem to be overcast for most of the day, getting kind of darker as the day wears on. There are very little encounters that you have with any sort of wild animal here. And as you're navigating through and guiding the party through these, through whatever dry spots that you can to keep your pace of movement up, you don't really see a whole lot of evidence of animals either. There seems to be just the deeper into this that you get, the forest becomes more and more overgrown. The trees are just dripping with mossy vines. It's almost as if without any sort of fauna to keep it in check, the flora of the forest have just expanded beyond.
It really is friendly.
Yeah, it is. That could be an apt description. Your first evening in the wet woodlands here is thankfully, due to Wuria's wonderful wisteria wigwam, it's dry and comfortable. You keep watch, but there's little to no evening creatures. The next dawn comes gray and kind of musty. But traveling through here is largely uneventful. You don't really seem to see any indication of any level of civilization. There hasn't been any roads, there hasn't been any towers, there hasn't been any, even occasionally like what you saw, like small shrines or rest stops of sorts in the Furbolg forest. That there's no signs of that here. Leah, with your guidance, Velis is able to navigate your group relatively easily and quickly through this bayou until you eventually come upon, sometime around the second day in here, an area that is sort of, as you've been progressing, you didn't notice it at first, but eventually it sort of just becomes kind of overwhelming. But just the scent of like chlorine in the air, sort of like imagine walking into an indoor pool, just that ever-present scent. And the eventually there's sort of just this low almost green tinged mist that just seems to permeate above the level of water along most of where you're traveling.
I'm gonna pull up a bit of the cloak just over the face.
This is vaguely ominous.
And did we expect anything else, really?
No,
Certainly not.
but I don't know that I specifically expected green tinged mist, but you know.
Dragons.
Yes. It seems that the deeper you get, the stronger that scent becomes, and you sort of all find yourself wanting or looking for something to keep out the
Handkerchief immediately.
Yeah. Get something over my face.
Because it's becoming almost oppressive. And another evening passes with, it's there are no crickets, there are no grasshoppers, there are no noises that you hear in anything. It is just almost completely and utterly still, as if there just doesn't seem to be anything alive in this forest. When you break camp the next morning, once the bubble of the hut spell dissipates and you sort of all get inundated with that heavy scent of that sort of chlorine again, you find yourself after breaking your fast and continuing on, getting closer and closer to. So Leah, what you know is there's an area of brambles that ring a large lake, and in the center of the lake is a small island, and that on that island is a large stone slab. And so usually what happens is the offerings are brought to this island and left on the slab. You all have been given some sort of herb infused, not exactly gas masks, but they're the typical thing that the Furbolg who bring the offering will wear, in order to just help them breathe a little bit better. The brambles, the area that they've described before to you, is that it's a thick, overgrown nest that is difficult to navigate and push through, but there always does seem to be a path that sort of leads them in, and sometimes they'll get lost, but usually without too much difficulty, they do make their way through. And roughly at the end of this next day is when you finally come across this sort of ring of overgrown plants and trees and vines and brambles that stretches up probably a good 10, 15 feet. As you've gotten closer, the trees have gotten more warped and gnarled, and you can see that the water itself, if you sort of wave away the greenish mist, you can see the water is almost pristine and clear, as if there's just no plant algae growth in it whatsoever. And you've all been drinking water that you brought with you. I'd imagine you haven't been drinking any of the water here.
No,
That's a
I think
terrible idea.
the chlorine smell and green mist.
I mean, can't Elias create food and water?
I can.
Anyway?
Yes.
I actually wanted to ask, have we seen any of those green pools that they mentioned yet?
So the with the sort of the effect of the light through the mist on the water, it's almost as if all of the water here is all green. So it's sort of
And
like,
does it seem like the water itself is, just from my knowledge with the poisoner's kit, like poisonous or caustic, or
so it is-
basically I'm trying to figure out if I can use it in some way.
It's too diluted to really be of any real use to you.
Okay.
You could probably forage for items if you wanted. Spend time doing that. And you can probably find various plants that may be useful to you. But the water itself is just not potable.
Okay.
Also highly.
I'll keep an eye out for anything interesting while we travel, just since I'm leading.
Okay.
As long as it doesn't slow us down too much.
Right. Go ahead and make a nature check.
That's going to be real great.
It's fine. Everything's fine.
Yep. We get this.
Nature is a 10.
Well, I would say make a survival check instead of a nature check. I think you have
Same roll. I do not have proficiency in survival, so same roll makes it an 11.
Okay. Yeah, so you do find various plants, but nothing that has any sort of interesting, useful properties.
Okay.
But one of the things that you do sort of definitely uncover is just that very likely the highly chlorinated water has definitely had an impact on the flora and fauna of this forest, without a doubt.
Okay.
All right. I don't know if you want to press on during the evening and at night through the ring of brambles.
I mean,
all of us have.
A lot of us can't see in the dark.
I mean, I can
still.
make light, but I'd rather
So-
wait.
I can also cast dancing lights if other people need light.
So if you would like
I have light, and
I
my
mean-
mace lights up. So.
Is there a reason we want to?
I feel
put
like
on?
conserving our strength is
Yeah,
probably in
perhaps,
our
yes.
best.
I mean, we have a nice safe hut that we can sleep
Yes.
in.
Then let's
feel
do
Also,
like-
it.
yes, thank goodness for that thing when the air gets cleaned when we step through it.
Yeah, the air is nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's through the significant amount of preparation that you had done in the town, as well as the use of your hut during the evenings, that none of you are having to make regular constitution checks going through this forest.
Hi, I would be dead before we got to the second trial.
Yeah, it's good that you decided to take extra time and to prepare. The brambles themselves, when you press through them the next morning, do present a little bit of an issue, in that they aren't difficult to push through, but they're highly prickly, and you can see that there are in and amongst a number of the plants varieties that look like they may be poisonous. As you sort of are examining it in the light of day the next day, which is probably good that you guys decided to do this during the day, because you can see.
I mean, I'll take the lead, trying to cut through this, and hopefully,
I mean,
I'll break a path enough for everybody else to be able to
Yeah.
get through.
my survival is
assist.
good. I'm not proficient in it.
I have survival.
I have poison-resistant
That's-
armor.
That's
That is also true.
Poison oak.
That's
I'm
useful.
just itching for days.
That sounds really unpleasant, though.
It does.
Also, poison ivy is the friggin' worst. So
Yeah, it's not so much poison ivy, as it is like you can see literal thorns glistening with
No.
actual poison.
Not a bad idea for Aiden to take the lead if you're
Poison resistant armor.
resistant armor.
Poison resistant.
So
I may just also cast armor Agathis on myself.
I mean, if I'm going to be making a lot of saving throws.
I mean,
I can cast
I'm immune
resistance on you
to
before you
immune
go.
to disease.
I have
Keep
advantage.
on
I have advantage on.
Unpoison. Okay. So you are, yeah. So this would give you an additional.
I'm
D4,
basically just
but-
kind of giving myself extra to absorb.
Yeah.
Because why not when I get my spells back in a short rest?
I mean, if I'm close, I would say if I'm fairly close to you, like 10 feet, if you have to make any save, you get an additional +4.
Yeah.
I'm assuming.
Well,
Okay. So
I don't have lesser rest prepared.
Yeah, I didn't actually go through my spells. I think I still have all my battle spells. So can I take a second and like,
you certainly
because
can-
I have like strictly battle things prepared from the
well,
Yeah.
Go ahead. I mean, I'm going to be.
No, I'm just saying, like, you can keep doing this. I'm just saying, I realized I should go through those.
I'm pretty
So
sure I can self-sufficient.
no, you're
Yeah.
yes. I'm not saying like don't do that yet. I'm just
So, what I'm going to plan on here is that with Aiden going first, and you're sort of cutting a path. You're so previously, or at least what Leah had been told, and the stories that you had heard, when the people come with these offerings, typically they don't really ever have to cut through the thicket. It's almost as if there's always a path available for them. There is no path available for you. So you are trying to you will have to kind of cut your way through and find pockets of open space and where there's least resistance. Now with Aiden leading and kind of cutting his way through, I will say that the rest of you will be able to gain advantage on your dexterity checks to move carefully and cautiously through these brambles. So they're about 10 to 15 feet high, and you can see they definitely reach up and over as well. I mean, there are sort of areas and gaps that you can see where there's just sort of.
I mean, there's also the idea of if the whole point is just to leave the stuff on the slab, where it could just take it all over on the broom.
There is that.
There is that.
Perhaps we should
could we
not leave
maybe-
her alone.
yeah. Could someone come with me just in case there's a friggin' dragon?
I mean, how far are so wait, we're at the thing.
And that is where you're
Dragon?
saying just in case there's a freaking dragon.
Of course.
I'm just saying, circumvent the bramble and the lake.
Send someone
Just send
over.
Weary off on the
Yeah.
broom and just
Or
dump the
send,
stuff.
Yeah, send someone
How
over on the
far
broom.
is it?
Yeah, that's what
I
we're
mean, that's fair.
I didn't realize we
How far is yeah?
Yeah. So the brambles,
lake with the thing in the center.
they don't know how deep or far the brambles
I
go.
didn't get that the thing in the center was the dragon's thing.
How about we go up? Someone goes up on the broom to see how wide the brambles are, and then
Fair enough.
can decide from there. If you want
What?
company, I'm up for it. We're already doing enough crazy shit out here.
I mean, I feel like I'm just too big to ride on the broom.
Yeah, no. I mean, I'm perfectly willing to go up on the broom and see what's going on.
Bellis or Cortanus, and those are our options.
I'll
More
go.
than willing,
Okay.
if my lord wishes.
So with your broom of flying, you have to back out a little bit to find an opening in the canopy of sorts, because especially around this sort of thicket wall, you get the trees and the plants here are so closely grown together. But as you fly up on your broom, you do see the lake that was mentioned. It is significant in size. I mean, it's easily hundreds of feet wide and across at its various points. The thicket itself, you can see, is sort of like a ring wall that encircles almost the whole thing, with a little bit of sort of beach, if you could call it that, on the inside where it meets the water. Roughly in the center of the lake, you do see the island that Leah had described. It is not that particularly large, maybe a few dozen feet on various sizes, kind of rising up out of the lake itself. The thicket wall, there are areas of it which probably get down to maybe 15 feet wide, and other areas that extend or that are a lot thicker, maybe 30 or 40 feet wide. So you could probably guide them around to find a narrower section of the wall to get through. Or you could fly over and just bring a bag of stuff and leave it yourself.
Okay, and it doesn't look like there's anything, like I don't see any evidence of actual dragon in the area, or...
Go ahead and make a perception roll.
I mean, because that's an important
Unless
question.
like there's a boat.
Roll for
that's
huge ass dragon.
in the
Well, that is a
Unless we want to wait
22
till tomorrow,
total.
and we can use control water.
22
And,
for
Moses
perception.
us
you know,
through.
we don't have Felice anymore. That we can
Yeah.
just water walk on command.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm,
What did we get rid of that ring of water walk?
I don't
Did
think
we?
you get rid of it.
Whatever happened to that?
Felice gave it to somebody because she didn't need it.
You can see off to one side
Somebody has it.
there does appear to be a boat.
There's a boat.
I don't have it.
Significant size. Looks like it could hold a number of furbolg, or like all of you guys.
Mhm.
That seems to be kind of pushed up, and it's almost as if part of the thicket or the forest is like attempting to reclaim it. Almost, you can see that it's overgrown with like bits of moss and things on it, and it was difficult to see at first, but it's kind of pulled up to the shore, leaning up against the thicket on one side, not too far away from one of the narrower edges. But you don't see a dragon. It would be very easy to see a dragon.
I would assume.
But you can see, even here around this lake, that green mist that sort of permeates above the surface of the water everywhere else is also here. And it is thick enough that you cannot see through it. So if there were to be anything in the water, you would not be able to see it.
Okay.
I feel like it's safer to fly.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. I mean, I assume dragons
the
don't
boat is here
typically
because
hide
that's
in water.
how they typically get.
They're not.
I
water
suppose
creatures.
it's
I mean,
This
it's,
is an
Lyria's
Olivia.
choice.
I
I mean, has Leah ever heard any stories of anybody getting attacked by sea things on the way out to this thing? Like,
well, but Leah's always the thickets always let them through, so that's and
So they always
Wait.
go. They go twice a year.
yeah,
Sort of on the winter solstice and the summer on the solstices, basically.
yeah,
Key
yeah.
turning points during the year is when those offerings are made sort of on the regular. And they never occasionally they may encounter like a fey creature or a shadow creature or something like that in and amongst the bayou, but they've never encountered like a native creature, and nobody has ever seen the dragon.
Yeah.
People have made attempts to like camp out for a while or
like
watch
I said,
it
he's
for a
Santa
while.
Claus. They try to stay up and see him, and then they never do.
I mean, it depends. I can lead you to a spot that is where it's thinner, so it's easier to pass. I can fly over. It's just if something does go wrong, I'll be on my own, especially if I'm carrying a bag. Well, if we put everything in the elfskin bag of holding, I could theoretically bring another person with me. But
That would work.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know why you
Question is who you'd
wouldn't
like to take.
and then just
a lot of stuff to carry.
you can
otherwise.
take it back out then.
right, so
Okay.
we could send two of us
Yeah.
on the broom. Though Leah, I think you are probably too large.
Yeah, unfortunately.
But I think it just depends whether it's always a risk to send two people on their own, but we can certainly do it.
I feel like the broom is a safer option, but maybe we just
Yeah.
get through the thicket. That way we're a little closer.
Fair
Not a bad
enough.
idea.
I still
All
don't
right.
know the distances of any of these things. I'm like, is this a huge, like, 300 feet we're talking, or is it, like, 20 feet? Like,
Well, so the thicket,
Yeah,
I
what
know
is-
we do a 15-foot
Yes,
path, but the
lakes
lake,
can
I
be
don't know.
multiple sizes.
He
Yeah,
said
no,
the
the-
lake was like over 100 feet.
Never heard that.
Hundreds of feet across.
Okay.
Yeah, it is a big lake.
It is big.
Yeah, I agree with Wiria. They go through the brambles and then a couple of people hop over, and if things go really wrong, then, well, the rest of you are, a few hundred feet away.
Closer than having to get through all the brambles.
You are not wrong.
Better to get through them and be on the other side than having to try and fight through them if something's going wrong.
I'm not against it.
So I lead them to a spot that looked the narrowest possible.
Sure. All right. So you can cut your way through. You have your sword is magical, so it cuts through these vines and brambles very, very.
I want to use that for macheting.
Use your super magical dark blade for
The machete.
Take that.
I guess I will. It
Doesn't have to be happy about it.
I mean, it's. Let me rephrase that. It's not actually cutting through it like butter, and it's.
It just drips like melted butter because of the poison.
But so let's see. How should this go? I would say. So Aiden, you're going to kind of literally trailblaze the way through. So I'm going to need you to make because where you find the most narrow area, a dexterity check for every 5 feet that you need to clear your way through.
And with everyone, you must make the link sound.
Very important. The link sound is
really fast around the grass.
So you're going to be cutting enough space for someone to fit through, and because of the space that he clears, the rest of you will be able to sort of sidle your way through with advantage on your dexterity check. Except for where she can fly over.
Yeah.
That's fine. Everything's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, Ray also has good decks, but
So
I was gonna say, quick question: how many of this, like, would this count as a single plant, or because I do have blight?
Oh.
Just roasted off.
if you want to use that level of spell,
I mean, I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
I was half
blight
expecting
is a dragon
Aiden to just
animal.
Eldritch blast a hole in it. Just 120 foot.
We're cutting it down.
That's different from blighting.
Eldritch laser beam.
Blighting
That is
it
different.
will
I'm not gonna blight the
destroy it
entire
all.
thing.
You
don't know
might.
what
Like you said, we couldn't burn the forest down, but we can't Eldritch flick force damage it through.
Anyway, I'm already. Yeah.
Aiden's already cutting through this thing.
That's fair.
You could, like, I mean, yeah, you could definitely do it. It's up to you if you want to cast a spell, but that would be effective. And, I mean, it is not like a single plant, but you would probably, with the wave of that level of energy, be able to, like, melt your way through these plants.
Yeah.
Up to you. I mean, you can also just have Aiden, like, hack at these poisonous plants and, make that chance that he'll cut himself. So it's up to you. How you want it.
I'm fine with that.
Aiden's
Gave
accepted
myself
this.
Yeah,
armor
but
back
it's also
at
a
this.
really funny mental image of Aiden wielding the sword and Elias just boop. Elias blighting the plants.
Oh yeah,
after
it's
Aiden-
just name me like
No. If you're good with, I'll let you.
yeah.
Joke's on you. I get mine back in 30 minutes still.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
That was an hour.
there is that.
Still less time.
So Aiden cuts
I rolled
through.
a 14 on my first one.
Okay. Despite your level of care, you do actually scratch yourself against some of the thorns, and you take 5 points of poison damage. And
I have
then
resistance.
Okay, so then you take 2 points of poison damage.
To my temporary hit points.
Nice.
Bump us through.
At which point, like, blasts of cold energy blast out, freezing a bunch of the stuff around you.
Katanas has a moment of Katanas has a cringe moment every time that happens. Slightly.
I do need you to make a Constitution saving throw, though.
Oh.
Okay. I have advantage against poisoning.
And this is poison, and so you do get advantage.
And I get Leah's bonus.
Mm-hmm. I was gonna say, Leah's going like right behind him because she also has protection from poison. So if he does get poisoned, she can
What's your bonus?
+4.
20 total.
Oh yeah, you're fine. Yeah, you can feel it like it burn a little bit, but with all of the magic enchantments.
Since technically I'm freezing the edges of the plants since they hit me, would they have advantage against the saving throw as well?
I would say that if you were to actually just straight up like take a small hit on the plant and let your armor of Agathis respond and blast it with
that was kind of the idea. Is I'm cutting through and then also just like simultaneously freezing the edges as I go through.
If you're going to take that damage and give me 2 extra, because you'll take another. Hold on, let me. Okay, so you'll take another 10 poison damage total, which you cut in half to do 5.
Yes.
And I need you to make 2 more Constitution saving throws, but you're sort of like intentionally triggering your armor of Agathis to just blast the way.
Nice.
Yeah, one of those. That's a natural 19 plus whatever modifier.
That's more than enough.
And the other one is it's higher than the first one.
Yeah. So you're fine.
Yeah.
And it burns a little bit.
No.
Oh, then the first one.
The
I was
first one's
like,
a 20 total. Right. Well, actually, it's a 19 total, but still.
So I think, don't you have like 20 temporary hit points from armor of
Yeah.
Agathis or something?
I have
you didn't take any damage. Yeah.
That's why I was just like, I'm totally okay doing this.
Yeah. So you basically like frost burn your way through the thing, just pushing your way through almost. And you carve a path that everyone can follow readily without actually triggering anything on their own. So you don't need to make dexterity checks.
Nice.
Because Aiden froze all the shit.
Yeah. Aiden's like, fuck you, poison.
Yeah. You do where you can guide them to the boat, and it is definitely large enough to hold all of you. Oftentimes the groups that come up, they come up in a group of 4, just so that there's enough people to, like, you know, if they need to get into a fight with something, there's enough people there. And so the boat is made to hold 4 furbolg.
We're good.
And we only have 1 furbolg.
Right. And it is definitely a furbolg design. You can see that there's a number of unique carvings and decorative elements that are inlaid into it that you recognize from sort of out and about around home. But it is a very old boat, and it does look like it will be serviceable and it won't like sink underneath you.
Yeah, I was gonna say I was gonna check that.
Yeah, you can check it. It does seem to be pretty sturdy. There may be a slight enchantment on it to just keep it from falling apart. You know, so that they don't have to like.
I mean, do we want to go out in the boat at all, or do we just want to wait on the shore while they fly out?
so once we're at the edge of this, the lake is still several hundred feet, right?
Yeah.
Okay, just double checking that I was.
We certainly have come this far. Perhaps we should stick together.
I mean, would was it? Maybe this was the plan. Like, could we go in the boat while they fly on the broom? Or is that just?
I think the question was.
I think the idea is not to trigger anything in the water if there's anything that might be hostile, since the dragon's not expecting us.
I leave that up to you. If
I mean, I don't think I was trying to look through my abilities or whatever, and I'm like, I don't think I can do anything other than like maybe a detect magic to be able to tell if there's anything in there. So
I can find out if there's undead.
yeah, like same. Like I can.
I mean, I do have basically detect magic on at will. I have at will detect magic.
Right. Oh, your invocation?
Yeah, that's what I took, at least for now.
So, I, having never left the offering before, I can't say for certain, but from what I have been told or what I recall, I feel it was just. There you go.
Locate creature, but I don't have.
Yeah, but you don't know what you're looking for. You have to.
I know the name of it. Don't
What,
we
the
know
dragon?
the dragon?
That's not
You
what
could
we're
locate the
No.
dragon. You could
Yeah.
Well, no,
locate the dragon.
I'm saying like
That's like trying to hide from Santa Claus. Like
Back to Santa Claus. What is with?
Santa Claus.
I feel like an ancient green dragon Santa Claus needs to be a card now.
Yeah.
your packed weapon to cut grass
I'll
because
type it in.
you need
Yes,
to work out.
So,
Being extra basic against poison.
the spell can locate a specific creature known to you or the nearest creature of a specific kind, such as a human or a unicorn, so long as you have seen a creature up close at least once. And I can tell you, you have all seen a dragon up close.
Yep, we have.
At least one.
Anyway,
Perform surgery
Leah's
on
just
it.
while we're debating, she's
Yeah, that's
just
what we have
going to
some
say,
dragon
regardless of what might be in the water, I really think that, again, this is purely speculation. I've never left the offering myself, but those who wish to pass must pay a tribute.
So you think it would make so you're saying you think we all may need to go in order for all of us to be allowed to
I
pass.
believe it is not out of the question, at least.
Bad idea.
Would make sense.
Aside from
Alright.
safety in numbers, I'm not sure, having never gone through, and even those who leave offerings don't normally go through, but honestly, I'm not sure the point in us staying here because I feel like one way or another,
We shall
that
need
is
to move
where
forward.
we go.
Yeah.
I must agree.
And I don't think we'll be returning
Yeah.
to the same spot that we came from necessarily. I feel like it's
Well-
continuing on from here.
Fair enough. Then
But
Also,
yes,
I
I
think
feel if we
I would feel more comfortable being a little closer.
Is our path across the lake, or is it we're passing by and just making a detour and then going back to our?
I feel like I don't know if we're entirely sure, but I guess what I said when you weren't there, it said okay, you could hear? I wasn't sure. But yes, it's
I mean, we may as well
nobody has
also
ever
I mean, leave it to a dragon to
be real specific.
nobody's tried
Real
to
into,
for
nitpicking.
technicalities.
go
Yeah.
through to the other
What
side
I know of
in
dragons,
living
they seem to
memory.
be.
So when they
Attempting to
leave the
thwart the
normal offering,
rules
yes.
specified, perhaps, may be a bad idea.
So basically, we each take something of our planned offering and put it on.
Do we have enough individual items for that?
Looking at the list.
yeah, I mean so yeah. So while
Yes.
we already talked about when we went to rest at night, we would write up
Writing out.
information.
Right.
So we
We
probably
have 7 things. Elfskin
Yeah.
bag, information, spellbook, bad smut, wooden pipe, book, and flute. If we really give the dragon the bad smut, we have enough for everyone.
May as well.
Bad smut.
Yeah, Katanis is just like,
Adonis can give all bad smut.
If thou wishest.
And if the
If
dragon
this truly works, I shall be very, very confused, but...
If the dragon refuses one, we do have potential alternatives.
It's better here than anywhere else.
And who knows? The dragon may be quite interested in bad smut.
Maybe they haven't experienced smut.
No experience. Why not?
Dragon. Ooh, what's this?
Cortaz is just like shaking her head like you people.
Nobody's ever told me about this before.
We're going to turn her into.
Thou art all so very sheltered in this age.
She's going to have special requests for
This
home
dragon
from
lives
now on.
in the middle of nowhere.
Yes.
Why would
Even
anyone
all of
do
thee,
smut?
all of you, from what I have heard, even you who roam everywhere seem not to know the most basic.
I know what smut is.
Well, but
I feel like we know, and that's why we're making a big deal of it that we are.
Yeah.
well,
why it's
perhaps
fun.
that. The making a big deal of it is what confuses me somewhat, but
Oh, we just find it amusing, I think, Cortanus.
Yeah, I just like, you know, like
It's
go
not.
up to Cortana and just put a hand on her shoulder. It's because confusing.
Bad smut to a dragon.
I
Also,
shall
to be
never
totally
understand the...
fair, Cortanus, your confusion about it may have increased our amusement.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
That's pretty true. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, so shall we all pile
The
into
next
the
step?
boat? If we're all going.
Yeah.
Wait. I feel like we have 3 potential rowers who actually want to do it.
Rowers?
Yeah.
I'll row.
So,
Three of us.
Yeah, that's
Hurry
right.
up,
You need 2. Hey, I
Hurry
got.
up.
I will keep an
I
I
mean,
have terrible strength, but I use
keep an
both
eye on
arms.
the water and all around for anything.
the
Yeah,
oars are
yeah.
also probably awkwardly
You
large.
can do it
for you,
yourself.
so-
Good. Okay.
Where you
I mean, I feel like it's a furboat
An
boat.
eye
It's
out.
just boat.
Yeah.
Boat. It just makes sense for the furboat to.
The oars are slightly larger and would probably be awkward for some of the smalls in the party
Yeah.
to use. But they could manage. But you could probably handle it on your own.
Yeah, that's why I was like, I'm just assuming it's going to be me.
Yeah, where you will also keep an eye out with Velis.
Hmm.
She's good at that. Actually,
Yeah.
before we
Are you
start off,
guys flying on the
do you want
boat?
me to fly above and keep an eye out that way, or would you like me to stay with you? Flying has a danger to it, but would give us a different
Yes.
advantage.
May as well.
I think it wouldn't hurt.
I won't fly too high.
Close enough that we...
Yeah, if anything pops out of the water, then at least you gotta.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, there's something coming.
That's true.
Yeah, and I do have message, so I can talk to you guys. It's just I can't.
So we'll use our eyes from above, and I'll be our eyes on the boat.
I'll also keep an eye out on the boat.
And I fly up like not super high, like close enough that if I fell into the water, it wouldn't be like kill me.
That's gonna go grab her crossbow just in case.
Sure.
Sure.
Depends on how.
It is not difficult to row this boat, even with all of these people in it. Those of you who are taking extra care to keep an eye out, if you can all make a perception check for me.
I mean,
Oh God! I rolled the
I feel
same
like-
perception, so 22 again.
I feel like
14.
I'm more keeping an eye out for
Well, 18.
not hitting things in the boat. Like,
Yes. So you're not.
My dice
I don't know if
like
I'm actually rolling perception or not for this, but
You're rowing.
You're
so
rowing.
I think
It's okay. Focus on that. We have it.
About perception not to hit any rocks and stuff.
Right. So,
I don't know
as
if that
far
rule
as
counts well.
know, there's nothing. There are no other. Like there's no shipwrecks. There's no reefs or anything like that. So it's
Yeah,
actually
that's-
pretty easy. Okay. So it's pretty much a slew of high rolls from everyone. It is quiet, almost preternaturally so. Because the green mist kind of floats on the surface of the water, you can just kind of see the boat, especially Wuria from your perspective, it kind of seems very eerie. It's almost as if the boat is floating on the mist itself and just sort of parting it as it glides through, and the mist just kind of collapses right underneath it. And being up where you are, if you didn't hear the actual sound of the oars moving through the water, it would almost seem as if it was like, this strange supernatural floating boat. But other than that quiet, creak of the wood and the splash of the oars hitting the water, it is almost utterly silent. And you don't see any movement. The rest of you don't see anything moving within the mist. It is very still and very dark.
A little unnerving.
You make your way across the lake, and just the closer and closer that you get to the center island, sort of larger and larger that stone slab begins to loom. It is maybe you're not sure if it's yourself. You're just all there. Just seems to be this tension in the air that is just beginning to build as you get closer and closer to this thing, and eventually you can hear after probably a good 10 or 15 minutes of just rowing, the sound of the oars hitting the water, the sudden lurch of the boat as it scrapes up against the edge of the island. It seems that the mist has actually obscured quite a lot of what might have been the beach, and so you weren't quite expecting it to hit it.
Grab both sides.
Yeah, so you all kind of like ground the boat unexpectedly. And you can see, rising up out of the mist ahead of you is a slightly elevated mound with that large stone slab on top. And other than just sort of a very soft, spongy moss covering the ground here, there doesn't seem to be any other plants or creatures on this little island. No trees, no bushes. Basically just this long, large stone slab that seemed to have been dropped onto this space.
Where it comes in and lands by them.
Okay.
Well, shall we each go up and leave an offering then? Together?
Let's get it over with.
Yeah.
Yeah. This done, so we can move on. Yeah.
We
Head out.
Yeah.
Yep.
We head up and leave everything, I think, except the spell scrolls we were going to keep.
Yeah.
Hold on to the scroll.
Each person leaving one thing.
Okay.
Mm.
So you're leaving. All right. The bag of holding.
Elfskin bag of holding.
The elfskin bag of holding.
Yeah, the elfskin bag of holding. All of the information that you wrote down, all the news that you had heard, the stories of the different things that you had done in Port Damali with all of the puppet people and whatnot. The spell book, the pipe. That's 6 items.
There was a
Well, there's
dwarven
isn't there?
book.
And the book in Dwarvish and Weary's flute.
Yeah, so I skipped over the scrolls and the book in Dwarvish.
We are doing the book in Dwarvish.
I mean, we only need
We were
to.
going to leave that too.
We were going to give one of each, but we could leave the extra book in Dwarvish just for the heck of it. It's up to you.
Well, let's hold on to the book then.
Okay.
Okay. So how are you doing this? Who is going up to the slab? Where are the rest of you at when this is happening?
We're each leaving one thing.
Yeah.
I was picturing like, I don't
We'll
know,
gather around it in a circle and set everything down at once.
that or just like,
Three,
going in
two,
a line
one.
of like, dun, 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 dun.
Yeah.
I guess I didn't really give much thought to it. I was like, we just
I think
go up, we leave it, and we go. Like,
Yeah, and I think on the theory that everyone needs to be there who wants to pass,
Mm-hmm.
we each wanted to leave one thing.
mhm.
Maria probably leaves her flute because she made it.
Okay. So who is going to leave what?
I'll leave the spell book since
Yeah, I figured the
Yeah.
Dwarvish book. for me.
Okay.
I'll do the pipe.
I was
Everyone
like,
knows
I
what I
didn't
have.
find any of this stuff, so I will
mean,
give
I was
whatever
gonna
you guys
the-
give me,
the
I
pipe
guess.
too. No one wants to be the
Oh.
one who drops the bag of holding, huh?
I mean, I
guess
feel like
I
that's
can
gonna
drop
be
the bag of
me,
holding.
but
Leah leaves the creepy bag of holding.
Yeah, all right.
She's the one who doesn't know what it is.
No, give it to Leah. She doesn't know what it
bag.
is. The bag of holding.
It's true.
Here,
I-
you can give it.
I don't know
this.
that you guys have actually specifically told Leah what that is.
Oh no, we
No.
mentioned it. We did
Oh, did
mention
we?
it. It came up.
Oh,
Yeah, we
I
did. We
remember
did.
Leah
mention it.
looking vaguely horrified.
Yeah.
I'll do the bag of holding.
Okay.
I want us to do the bag of holding.
All right.
So Leah does the pipe then.
Yeah, I guess so.
The fancy pipe.
Cortanis has the smut.
Oh,
I'm so happy.
Thomas gets to donate.
Or
this-
the stuff we wrote up because we could keep the smut.
Because
No, we have like the slut. Come on now.
no. Yeah.
Maybe it's
Save the information for the trip back just in case, I guess.
I mean, I would think almost like, presumably we'll have more information when we get back.
Yeah.
So I feel
do
like
also have those elfskin tomes.
Oh right, I
Mm.
What's
forgot
about that?
those.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I forget if I actually tried reading through them and stuff yet, but
Wouldn't be surprised.
I feel like I did. I don't remember if I got anything significant out of them.
I remember I made those be written in something weird that you would only you would be able to read.
did Felix have anything she let us
Only
know?
I would be able to
I never
read
did
it.
even like.
Yeah, 'cause it's written in like abyssal or in not abyssal or infernal, but like far speech or something like
Some
that.
derivative. I do know deep speech now.
Oh, well, you can also read all writing.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, but that is true. The information which we could add to would be a good offering on the return
Yes.
and easy to carry.
I mean, I'm not pulling those out right now. I'm just like,
Yeah, and those books. So yeah, if Cortanis leaves the bad smut,
I shall not be saying that.
yeah, that was not in character.
No, we want to with good smut.
As long as we don't say, I leave you bad smut.
The best.
Probably don't want to
Educational
describe
book
your
on the
offering.
courting habits.
Yeah, exactly.
You leave them a human idea of romance.
Right.
A modern human idea of romance.
Yes,
No, it is
fair
not
enough.
the human idea, or it is one human's
I
No, I
idea.
said A. I said A. Yeah, a human idea of romance.
yeah, the spell book is from the one guy at the Rift, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I had that in my inventory, so.
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
So are you not giving up the spellbook?
No, I mean, I was just making sure that it was.
Yeah, it was also in the party inventory, so it never got deleted from the party.
Well, I feel like 'cause I was the one in particular that took it, so.
I thought Velis ran over and looted the body.
Yeah, but then
I
I think
did
I
loot,
ended up with it because
Oh, you ended up with it? Okay.
I couldn't read it.
Yeah.
You can read it, yeah.
So you want to sort of
Because we didn't know it was a spell book, so we handed it to Aiden to look at.
And Aiden said, "Oh, it's a spell book," and none of us could use it.
you pass around the elf bag of holding, each of you taking out the designated item, and then kind of all at once gingerly place the item onto the stone slab and look at each other and wait a moment, kind of looking around and
Okay.
sort of in silence, just the sound of everybody sort of almost no sound because everyone's kind of like holding their breath, and then nothing. It's just quiet and still.
Do we just continue on?
I guess so. I mean, no,
Seems
I
like
wasn't
that's the way
expecting
it
to
works.
see the dragon. Nobody really does. It also doesn't seem to
I
be.
suppose if she decides to show up at some point, we just explain our intentions with what we
We
left.
didn't just get blasted with acid, so
Yes.
That
I think
is
as
a
people turn to leave,
possibility.
Cortanis is just going to bow towards the slab and then turn and go.
All right. Well, which way to continue?
As you all begin to walk towards the boat, you see it gently sort of rocking, as if it's being buffeted by rippling waves. There were no waves and there wasn't a lot of movement in the water as you were making your way across.
That's unnerving.
And you can just sort of hear the sound of the water lapping against the shore and against the boat.
I just want to like lean over to Elias and say, if the dragon shows up, please don't talk.
What?
Yes, perhaps there are several of us who can do a better job talking.
Oh, I have no intention of talking to the dragon.
And as you watch, you can see something disturbing the mist in front of you. And rising up out of the mist, you can see it's difficult to make out what it is at first. It's sort of like a long crest. And then you realize this is the green-hued, scaly skin of the crest of a very large creature as it just sort of begins to rise up higher and higher.
Nessie!
This crest is 6, 7, 8 feet tall, and it just keeps rising up out of the water. And then you can see the top of this gargantuan head. This thing is probably large enough to swallow this entire boat whole, without even... the boat does not even make it an amuse-bouche for this creature. You see the top of his head and eventually these golden yellow eyes that are each, as big around as Dorvin's chest probably was.
Cortanis takes an instinctive step in front of Elias.
The head breaks the surface and it just keeps rising up and up and up, almost impossibly high, looming over all of you as the body of this creature emerges from the water. You can see the chest just slowly rising up as this creature takes this deep breath. Oh, hello. And that is where we're going to end tonight's session.
Damn.
Yeah.
Yes, of course.
Yes, of course.
Lean over to Leah and just be like, I thought you said the dragon never showed up. I guess you're really lucky. You have a weird definition of luck.
I mean, it's you.
That's fair. This does track for me.
Yes, it's true.
Oh dear.
I said it had not been seen in living memory. I didn't actually say it never shows up.
Living memory is the key. Living.
I was like, if you notice these things, it was always in living memory, because beyond that, she's not sure.
This was very exciting to lead into, and I can't wait to see what happens next. But it is late for a lot of you, and I actually have a sort of scheduled work appointment that I have to meet up with someone at 9, so I gotta do some prep. Thank you all so much for playing. Next week, maybe iffy. I'll figure it out and toss some stuff into the channel, but definitely the last Saturday of the month should be good.
Okay.
Okay. Good.
I might have to let you stew a little bit.
Yeah, we're anyway.
That's fair. I'm out next week anyway.
Yeah, it looks like several people are out next weekend.
Even if we are around, we may be just kind of winded.
Right.
Next weekend.
Okay. Did not know next weekend. Talking about it.
Yeah, that's when we're coming down.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we may.
It's surprisingly hard to tell the Wildemount dice packs apart.
We would probably. There's a good chance that we'll be at least rather tired next Saturday. But... What?
Have a good night. I am signing off.
Night.
Have a good night.
Later.
Yeah, it would admittedly probably have been too easy for there not to be a dragon that showed up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I fully expected that.
Yeah, too easy. Dang.
I'm just like, more Cards Against Humanity? I'm awake.
I mean, start another one if you want.
We could play another round of cards.
I'm all for it.
I can play one round.
Yeah, I don't want to stay up too crazy late. But
I will probably.
I mean, I know you're tired, but like, I mean,
a
I have
little-
plenty of coffee.
I will need a little bit of
Dad, I
caffeine
think
if
took
we're
the
gonna.
Diet Pepsi, but
Yeah.
Yeah. I should have
Yeah,
not.
I mean,
I should have not closed this.
Today.
I mean, yeah.
I'm down.
I don't know if you're gonna want more blankets. Obviously, we'll shut the
may-
door, but
Change
yeah.
pajama pants.
Yeah, I can do one round of cards.
I was like, we're literally sitting on your bed right now because
Yeah.
I'm down.
so.
Let me just grab the thing because
Also,
I closed this.
yeah, I added Ancient Green Dragon Santa Claus and using your packed weapon to cut grass because it needed to work out. I also actually went in and added all of the black cards for
Sweet.
what is so and so's guilty pleasure and made one for each of us. Which I am just very excited about the fact that we have things like what is Elias's guilty pleasure, and somewhere in there is a card that says carrying the souls of your enemies in your pocket.
Also secretly
So happy.
So no one else can.
Yeah,
Right.
which is absolutely Elias's guilty pleasure.
Yep.